All right, guys. So thank you again, Matt, and for setting this up and giving us some good quality time. My name is Mark Piper. I'm the Vice President and General Manager of FacilityConneX, and we're going to focus our attention on really where we add a lot of value when it comes to basically time to solution, the time it takes to get from the time from when you actually connect and bring data into a system to where you start to see value. And we're going to give a flavor of a few different areas. But let me first talk a little bit about some of the challenges that are out there today. When people talk to me about their challenges, they tend to fall into these categories, mostly around data integration, where, and obviously in these time of days, low interaction between people is encouraged. But more importantly, really looking at how that data is being integrated and then served up to the right roles in different functions as part of the organization. The second area is remote visibility and detection. This is a very strong area for FacilityConneX, and I want to talk a little bit about them in the way of proposing a solution across the board. And then a lot of our customers today deal with regulatory and reporting type aspects, and we're built in to really understand what those reports look like. But more importantly, getting people away from that paper type concept into a more real-time approach. We are very much seeing a higher use of video and mobile, especially in our cloud. Matter of fact, we're actually around a little over 50% of our users are actually using remote mobile devices right now as we speak. We actually ran some numbers this morning, and we're looking at basically around 52% of our users are logged right now in through their mobile device. And then lots of people have equipment optimization and reliability in mind, but lots of people also have the challenge of the distance, of how to cover that distance, and more importantly, people working from home these days obviously are far away from that equipment. So having that understanding of equipment optimization, what needs to get done, who to contact, and why is important. And then lastly, there's way too many tools that people have to use. Why not integrate this type of concept in a typical type solution that makes sense? But first, let me address how we, what we really do here. And this is what we call enabling voices. Obviously, our tag name is about the voice of the equipment, and we're all around equipment optimization. But more importantly, how do you get an IoT-enabled voice? And that's what this presentation is going to drive to. You'll see this a number of times throughout the presentation. But when you think about it, a piece of equipment or a process tends to go through kind of a bumpy ride over time, right? That's that yellow area that you see here in the screen. It's what we call more the operational provider, the person who actually makes changes, tweaks things, knows a lot about the process and about the equipment, and is able to make those changes more manually based on, a condition arises or they see something that's very obviously ad hoc in a way, but it definitely gets the job done, as you can see. But during those times when you're, fading in your performance, you tend to basically start to lose either savings, operational efficiency, or sometimes reliability. So most people have continuous monitoring. However, it's the same approach. Continuous monitoring gives you the ability through your SCADA system or your historian, the ability to trend and see data and do levels of control. What we tend to here at FacilityConneX is what we call enabling the what if. What if you can see the data a little more effectively? What if you can be informed of those problems based on some level of intelligence that typically you use when you do the manual process, right? What if you get the actual cause associated with that problem? That drives a higher level of efficiency, brings higher level of reliability into your equipment, and keeps you informed when you're in or out of compliance. So let me take you through the first step of enablement of an IoT voice. And it really boils down to the connection. And lots of people talk about the connection as being something that, you know, everyone wants to talk about up front, and understand. As a matter of fact, in our process, when we deploy a customer, the first step you go through is the IT enablement process. And typically that sometimes comes from a very close conversation with the IT department, walking them through how a packet forms. Other times it's a 200-page questionnaire. Either way, FacilityConneX never really has a problem. And so let me take you guys through a little bit of the connection process. You know, we have over 200 protocols that talk to different types of equipment, servers, different levels of layers. You can actually bring in multiple connections and bring them up into a single pane of glass. But all that happens down at that driver, which you guys are very familiar with. As you build into that, you bring that data into a SCADA system or a BMS system or a historian itself. Maybe you've even done some layer of aggregation, you know, before the firewall, even after the firewall. A lot of people term that the red zone, or the zone where there's actual, the control side of the picture. We also give you the ability to basically bring data across that zone into 3 different aspects. You know, it could be right on that system that you have deployed today. It could be on an industrial PC, which we can basically deploy with the help of people like AutomaTech. Or it could be just a IT department opening up a virtual machine. Either way, we drop any information right onto our across that firewall, and we drop a very simple form of an agent, a secure agent, what we call EdgeConneX. And that EdgeConneX really has 2 pieces of software. It establishes the point-to-point encrypted connection, and it uses encoded OPC to do so. And it does the protocol conversion down to that piece of equipment. That layer gives you a unidirectional approach into our cloud, where we basically have over 50,000 pieces of equipment today. That cloud is highly secure by design. We've had no security breaches in over 6 years now. You require no administration. We do all that capability for you. And it's built for multi-tenancy. So not only is your data basically stored away, your customer or your client data is actually basically separated out and lends itself to the full privacy that it should get. And that's all built into the solution day one. What you will also see is this little TOV, as you see in there on the right, on the top right there. And I'm going to prove to you that different aspects, different customer applications have basically, that TOV stands for time of value, right? And so this is basically typically for us, seeing data from FacilityConneX, from the data connection, which only usually takes a half a day, to actually seeing a tag or a point come up into the cloud and visualize that information is usually less than 5 days. That means all the information that we should be getting is flowing into the cloud for processing and visualization by you, okay? Or processing by one of our analytics that we have thousands of them in the cloud today. So when you really go with an FCX cloud-based solution, you're really looking at the fastest time to value. And the way we do that is we package it. We package it into these solutions. Anytime Connects, which I'm going to talk about in a second, really draws attention to really just bringing data and visibility and notifications up into the cloud. And more importantly, giving you that visualization back in the form of an action. WaterConneX is a focused product around the water and wastewater industry. OEM Connects is a kind of a journey, and I'll take you through a little bit of the journey of what OEM Connects does, but it really brings the value to the OEM machine builder that might be out there that really wants to drive his visibility into the services that he provides to his equipment, starts to basically add benefit and analytics to that equipment, and then starts to look at it much more from a reliability perspective at being the best out there around that type of equipment. And we'll talk through that journey during this presentation. And then
Mark,
FacilityConneX.
hey, Mark, just to interrupt for one quick second. I just want to reiterate, I forgot to do this in the beginning. Sorry to interrupt here.
Sure.
If there's any questions or comments for Mark during this session, please leverage the Q&A feature in there. We'll keep an eye on it. Any comments, feel free to share. So, sorry to interrupt, Mark. Go ahead.
No problem. Good thing to mention there. And then FacilityConneX, which is where we started out in the beginning, and have created a huge amount of analytics right off the shelf that are driving energy savings across the board with our facility-based customers, and that applies to industrial, healthcare, and commercial type buildings. So let me take you through Anytime Connects, and this is all about enabling the voice of a key performance indicator. It's the best way to think about this. It could be a tag, it could be a trigger point, it could be a derived value. What I mean by derived value is it something that you basically use to determine something that you want to be notified about, and it could be something that has some built-in logic or some simple type approach like that. But more importantly, we package this solution with full trending and customized viewing capabilities. We package it with a full mobility native application. And you have the triggered notifications with built-in intelligence around sensor health and quality. You have the manual data entry where you're bringing in data that might not be real time, might be data that's gathered from the field based on reading a gauge. Or you walk in the manufacturing floor and you want to basically bring that data in. This is integrating all that dispersed data into one pane of glass. That's what Anytime Connects does. More importantly, we're finding more and more applications where people tend to form, this concept of what people call the historian in the cloud. It's really about intelligent access, exposing the archive data that you see. You're going to see some good examples as I walk through here and talk about some of that. Data aggregation, can happen in the cloud. It's a much more cost-effective type approach because storage is fairly cheap in the cloud these days. And then it creates that control protection layer. This is a very important concept because what we're trying to do is not take away from the HMI SCADA world or the historian world where you have on-premise systems that are used to set controls or make changes when things are going wrong. This is to really help you visualize and monitor those aspects on the other side of that firewall, that control protection. This way you don't have quality people or operational people, even executives, basically peering into your HMI. This is really giving them a different perspective and a different way of looking at the data, highly protected on the other side of that firewall, that control network that you have today. And then we have full exploiting from raw data to average, to max and mins. All that can be exported into any type of report or fed into an Excel type spreadsheet. Anytime Connects really helps you focus, is the right way to think about this, and I want to give some clear examples of some of this as I was walking through on customer successes. When we introduced FacilityConneX a few years ago, actually they're on the third year now, Crane Currency or Crane Paper, they used to be called. And we started to really focus on the energy side of their business. This is a manufacturer, has several buildings on their campus. They had to allocate cost, so we had to kind of define where that cost goes across their campus and what functions and features get that type of information. And we wanted to target equipment optimization and really drive home where that energy is being served. A matter of fact, today, we're seeing a lot of customers expecting this reduction in energy and not seeing the right behavior, not seeing those 30, 35, 40% because the campus is shut down right now. And this is the type of visibility you need to understand where that energy is being drawn by. And it's an important type concept. And I show a couple of examples of our key screenshots where you're looking at comparisons and aggregates and trending capabilities totally built into our solution. And then the other one is this concept of lots of people have older archives of historical data sitting out there, things that they tend to have to, from time to time, maybe once a week, draw attention to that data, pull some data for someone, or give access to that. Those type of environments can go away with the Historian Land Cloud. These environments can be pulled into a common data access or data layer right in the cloud and given access appropriately to the right role, the right situation. You know, we have a couple of life science customers who are actually doing that today. They've taken some of those old servers, restructured their access into a FacilityConneX type system, and see that protection of the control data layer where they're basically, it's, you know, no touching anything below that. So they're pushing that in that unidirectional fashion, like I described up, and we're basically giving access to those people that need it for reporting and customized viewing. The next application is around WaterConneX, and this is targeted at the water and wastewater industry that's out there today. And we've had a lot of success around that, and I'll show a couple of key examples of those successes in the next set of slides. But more importantly, these are the key concepts that we tend to see that people take advantage of in the WaterConneX solution. Again, this is purely a time to value type environment where you basically get this data, it's basically augmented and protected from the control side of the business, and it allows multiple people to see what is going on across the board. You know, one thing is high remote visibility is really important, especially when you have a lot of geographic areas. You have mobility that you want your technicians to have, and you're seeing things like, where you have this distance, social distancing happening, where you want to use typical type messaging systems, which are built into FacilityConneX, where you can, for your field guys to work with your operations environment. You still have pure customized viewing. You could save those views in any way. But more importantly, we're finding that we're giving access, and very limited access, to only certain sets of tags or data to regulatory agencies so they can see things real time. Very simple type approach, totally controlled by our customer, okay? More importantly, we introduced about a year ago the concept of intelligent notifications. These are ways to weed out the noise. These are not basically replacements or should be thought of as SCADA alarms. These are really intelligent notifications. These are trying to reduce false positives. They're using logic and sensor health and bad quality information to determine should you be notified, and limits the false positives that come out when things are just, you know, your sensor is dirty. Lots of people overreact to those sensor dirty situations, and they find out that they could have just waited a few days and did it when they were going out to that site anyway, right? We're finding a lot of focus on staying on top of the quality levels of water today. Things like source water monitoring and well capacity are very important type concepts. We have plugged in pump detection and efficiency calculations that help determine how well pumps are doing, but more importantly, keeping those pumps reliable and healthy. This is all about awareness, really. Intelligent notifications is about awareness. Lastly, we're finding a huge use in our manual data entry approach. And the way we approach this is purely from the mobile device. You can still do it through the browser, but most people use it in a mobile, like an iPad type device. And really it's to go out there and do their common regulatory compliance checkbox, right? The checkoffs. They have to read pH, chlorine, lots of different parameters. We have people that actually read about 20 to 25 different properties at the site, and they do it on a daily basis. Well, typically that was done on a clipboard and then brought back to the SCADA environment, and then input it into the SCADA environment. So from the clipboard to the input to the SCADA environment, you lose visibility, not to mention it comes back 24 hours later, right? So really what you're looking at is reducing those human errors. You're going to do error checks while the guy's sitting looking at that gauge or that analyzer, And you're going to basically report on that right away. You're going to find out as a supervisor or an executive of the organization, you're going to find out your pH is out of whack, right? You're going to find out right away that the guy's on site. You can go and deal with that situation right away. That doesn't happen on the clipboard type approach. And that's what we're trying to do here. Just to give you a couple key customer examples, we actually monitor a lot of water and equipment for American Water in the state of New Jersey, and we're actually expanding out right now across 19 states using our integrated data approach. And they are probably one of the biggest adopters of our manual data entry approach, the way I described it just earlier, because of its easy entrance, the fact that it has on-location checking, and then more importantly, it can be basically entered in offline mode and then basically synced up when you're back on the network. Very simple type approaches like that. It's also very self-deployed. We actually have regions in American Water that actually edit and work on those environments themselves. And it's all quick time to value. Look at that, less than 30 days, thousands of tags loaded, running, manual data entry forms, and the process in place to start using a manual data entry approach. And then pump awareness. We have a wastewater company. Actually, it's in the middle, in Onondaga, up in upstate New York. We actually have another one that we already deployed in the Middle East as well. And they're using our pump efficiency analytics. They're looking at the mobile real-time viewing. They have the built-in intelligent notifications to let them know that there's issues being resolved. And we're starting to deploy some of those efficiency analytics onto these sets of data to really start to bring home the optimization. And you can see some key examples of our intelligent alarming up on the right. You get that view, that you see that little view with the graph that comes right on your email, comes right on your SMS text, and you're able to see the area that is being affected right now and what the last 5 data points were, which is really important. You also can summarize your alerts as well. And then on the bottom right there, you see our manual data entry. It's the browser-based version. On the left there is the phone. You can see how you can basically just click, and it's very easy entering of data. Our next solution is around the OEM world, the more machine builders. We have a bunch of machine builders that we work with every day. We've done a lot of custom work and a lot of custom analytics around that, and it really becomes a key factor in looking at equipment reliability. Matter of fact, it's your equipment reliability. If you're the machine builder, you want your equipment to get better over time, and you want your customer to have high satisfaction. And that drives attention to really, are you visible at what's happening for your customer? Most people find out about that when they're actually get a call, right? You get a call from the equipment, my equipment's down, or my process, I have waste material or waste product because of a situation with a piece of equipment, and you have to basically hunt through a bunch of data to figure out what's going on. Well, we give you a simple approach to connect and go, pretty much, at visibility of that equipment with your customer. Very simple approach of equipment performance tracking, specialized viewing, historical analysis. You can even share your views with your customer. More importantly, your field technician out there all around the world has availability to this data as well. But more importantly, people see a journey, especially in the machine builder space, of building custom analytics that drive attention to fault detection, and they share those detections with their customer. This really brings them not just a advantage of seeing what's going on beforehand and being proactive about it. It gives them the advantage of showing their customer a differentiation factor that no one else has out there today. And we have several OEMs that do this with our development team every day. We have built-in machine learning, but more importantly, you want to get to that fleet analysis. If I can look at a similar piece of equipment across the board, I can basically see how well my equipment type is doing and which equipment is serving, basically acting more efficiently than others, and see what the differences are. And then reliability is the key point. During that warranty period, you want to know maintenance is done. You want to know what the mean time between failure. You want to integrate notifications into those analysis and analytics so that you get awareness and make sure that your product is reliable in front of your customer every day. So let me take you through a little bit of a journey of an OEM. And they typically form starting out in a lab, and it is a journey. So this time to value is over a little bit of effort and time. It probably takes about 9 months to a year to get through the journey, but it doesn't mean that you're not adding value after 30 days. So you spend time in the lab, you identify these things, you start to collect data from your customers. That's really important, and you start to build up. You get to a point where you have the connected proof of concept with that is ready to go with some level of analytics, but more importantly, you've structured that data and you start to build alarms for display, proving the value of this new service or this new offering that you're basically about to bring out to your customers. And during that process, you're going to reiterate. You're going to basically build, and you're going to build more into it over time. But that can just happen over the next 6 to 9 months. More importantly, within the first 3 months to 6 month time frame, you're going to go customer live. You're going to start to use the system, and we have built-in tools that help you deploy and add all that value I talked about in Anytime Connects to your customer. Not to mention, you're starting to deploy analytics. And then lastly, you're driving to a fleet deployment where you're looking at things across the board, and you have a standard offering that you're offering to your customer. Now you're starting to show some key differentiation. So that's kind of the OEM success story that we've had. We've gone through this process several times, as I've talked to, and it's really important to understand that it is a little bit of a journey, but you can start. First step is grabbing that data and starting to visualize what's going on.
Hey Mark, Mark, just to jump in here, a question that came through. So just related to OEM Connects, one of the questions was, if I'm an equipment manufacturer and I've already done some of the work to build up some analytics, using tools like MATLAB or some other open source tools, what can you do to help an equipment manufacturer like myself with that? If you could address that.
Great question. And so we use typical, very simple type approaches. We encapsulate analytics into a really a deployment analytic engine. That engine can accept things from MATLAB. It can accept logic in Python. It could even have pre-built logic in the Prophecy C-Sense technology as well. So we just plug that logic in. We might give it a little bit more of a wrapper so that it can integrate better with our intelligent notification system and stuff like that. But it's a very simple process for us. Matter of fact, we love machine builders like that or manufacturers like that because they already sorted out and understand the logic as opposed to going through the discovery process of doing that.
Yeah, that's good to hear you can help with that, because that's one of the things we see with our customers is they know their process inside and out. They know how it should behave. They've got a lot of experience and knowledge. It's all about how do you capture and digitize that knowledge to make something out of it. So if you could help with that, that's great.
Great. Yep. Yeah, we definitely have a lot of that. Lots of people have done research experiments or have done stuff on premise that is already given value on an on-premise solution, and it's just needs to be deployable to a one-to-many type focus, and that's one of the great tools of OEM Connects is that one-to-many deployability that brings to the table. Lastly, the last solution that I want to talk about is FacilityConneX, and this applies to industrial facilities, commercial buildings, healthcare, universities, and we've had a lot of successes focused on equipment optimization. Matter of fact, we have a full fault protection package where there's over 1,000 off-the-shelf analytics that bring people the level of diagnostics that they need to really go to solution, go to solving and action much quicker. We have full built-in energy cost analysis and energy consumption analysis. And most cases, we're connecting to multiple BMS or multiple SCADA type systems and bringing those data back into one single pane of glass. But one of the biggest values that FacilityConneX brings to the table is what we call the FCX experience, which brings all this information together with what we call a commissioning consultant that works with you on a monthly basis to drive energy savings and reduction. In this day and age, even though people are seeing less energy, we're also seeing less revenue, and really drawing more energy savings is where you want to be. And this is the perfect solution to do that. One example that I want to give is the air optimization pack. This applies to clean rooms, labs, vivariums. These are places that most people, life sciences, for example, have in, basically have to deal with every day. This brings in outside air. Outside air is expensive air. Why? Because it just simply has to be conditioned. It has to be cooled, heated, it has to be exhaust. And so typically lots of people don't realize that you can save a lot of money at managing this process, this simple process. But it's a balancing act, right? So you have to balance it because you're using one piece of equipment to serve multiple areas. You have to balance it because you have pressure, humidity, temperature variations. But more importantly, there is regulatory and compliance type concerns around these type of areas, and you want to make sure you're meeting things like air change rates. We have customers that drive energy savings in the hundreds of thousands of dollars just in the first month of deploying these analytics. Here's an example, University of Massachusetts, and this could apply to any industry. Guys, this is, I picked the university just because it was a great example of what happened. This is a small 150,000 square foot building. It has 24 labs in it. We put these air analytics, and in the first month, matter of fact, it was probably the first couple of weeks, we actually found $399,000 in annualized savings. Think about that number against a 150,000 square foot building. Now, the implementation cost was a little high because their terminal devices, or what's called the supply VAV, was not implemented correctly in the original design of the building. So they have a little bit of work, but it's still a 1.5-year payback. That's after that, it's all free money, guys. So very cool example of how just pure outside air affects a lab, and this could easily apply to a clean room type environment. So just in conclusion, I want to kind of make sure that people understood that, really time to value matters. It's when you get to that time to value that you start to see the benefits of what we call voices, or IoT enabled voices. You're going to see the improvement of interaction. Very hard to put a finger on it, but the operational efficiency grows when you're getting the diagnostic information right to your face, right? When you're getting the cause right there in front of you, and you go right to action, or you get a notification with that cause already built in, right? People working from home, people working in the field are going to action much more quicker. And we're drawing out those false positives that typical alarm systems either over time have gotten noisy, or it's not necessary to see all those alerts when certain conditions arise. In the water wastewater industry, if you saw turbidity type issue, you want to know that that filter is on, right? So if that filter is on, then the turbidity is real. The filter is off. I don't want to hear about it, right? It's not an important issue. And that type of logic, that type of condition type management is really important when you want to gain efficiency. And then lastly, everything's going, mobile. You want to see it right on your device. You want to input data when you need to. You want to get to the reports that you need. You want to visualize that total fleet out there. But more importantly, we bring it in one solution package for you, where you get everything from the integrated alarming concept to the fault detections, and also the custom visibility of viewing. So really, it's all about time to value. That's what it's all about. I hope you guys noticed the little TOVs as I walk through the presentation. But those are what we do best here in FacilityConneX. Is there any other questions?
Yeah, so Mark, since we're backed up against the lunch hour here, you're not going to have another session. I think we could take a couple of quick questions. That's awesome to be able to see some of those value calculations. That really resonates there. One of the questions that came through the group is the fact that there's a lot of buzz today about machine learning and artificial intelligence. How can FacilityConneX and the analytics capabilities address that or help with that?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people see machine learning and artificial intelligence a little bit. They kind of overthink it, to be honest. There's a lot that can be done with simple type anomaly detections and simple fault and physics-based analysis that you do against, a model. You can even do a lot with deviations in empirical design. But machine learning does come in play when you're really looking at things like processes and where you want the algorithm to kind of train itself. Now, that's not necessary, day one, but it's definitely something that brings a lot of use and a lot of optimization techniques to the table.
Great, thanks for clarifying that. Appreciate it. Another question that popped in here was, how does FacilityConneX differentiate from traditional energy management systems? If you could elaborate a little bit on that.
Great question. So typical energy management systems tend to actually do a great job at drawing consumption pictures, looking at type of peak demand type situations. But more importantly, it's used to really manage, how you draw in your utility costs into the entire picture. FacilityConneX is a little bit different. We do the pure consumption type analysis. Why? Because we want to get you to the equipment that is actually forming that consumption. That if we can optimize at the root of what's drawing that energy, we can reduce that energy. And so we give you simple type concepts like virtual metering and looking at your peak demand in a consumption usage format to really serve the purpose of getting to the piece of equipment or getting to the energy that is actually being wasted. And that's what we're about. Energy management systems can't do that because they don't have the fault detection or the capabilities to do those. That's the difference.
Awesome, good to know. Thanks for the clarification. I have one more question here in the chat window, but I'll just throw out to the group. If there's any other questions, you can raise the hand with the little blue icon, or post your questions here in the chat or a Q&A window, just as a quick little reminder. But I'll read this last one, and if there's not any others, then we'll wrap. So the last question here is, we're in an industrial environment. We find that there's a lot of issues with compressed air. Is there anything you could do around compressor optimization?
Yeah, so I didn't show all the analytics in this presentation, but compressed air is one of our biggest areas where there's a lot of electrical consumption. We actually have over 40 analytics off the shelf that basically look at the entire compressed air system, not just the compressors themselves, but the valves, the supply and demand side, the tanks and the blow-offs and the short cycling aspects. And we have optimization analytics that allow you, especially in the compressed air, in the manufacturing environment, we have multiple compressors basically serving a single type of environment. We've done a lot of work. Matter of fact, we have a couple of use cases and customer cases where they've seen upwards of 30% energy reduction. But more importantly, it's about reliability in the production area. And what we have found is, we can basically balance a lot of the reliability to basically form that supply side and demand side type equation that happens in the optimization of compressed air. Okay.
Great, thanks, Mark. One last one trickled in here as we were speaking there. So you outlined a lot of the pieces and parts of FacilityConneX, but how about historical data collection? Is there something you could do to help with the actual historical cloud-based data collection?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned it in the Anytime Connect package when we in that slide there, where I talked about really the historian in the cloud. We do that a lot with customers. We have customers that have over 10 years of historical data in FacilityConneX. We also have built in a number of tools, especially around trending and viewing and looking at that data. But more importantly, a lot of times with historical data, people want to do the exporting into different types of Excel spreadsheets or looking at different variations of data. We have all that built in and integrated in FacilityConneX as well.